So, yeah, it's me. The camera is blocked. It's not a problem. The issue is, I was just thinking something. First off, we stabilize the phone thing. See how things go. Um, One thing I can tell you for sure right now is the. It was just talking to myself, and if it is hear me, it sounds almost as if I'm talking to someone, right? In English, it's a casual conversation. I was imagining myself in a cockpit of an aircraft, just talking to some pilot. It just, either be arriving there because be a friend of the owner, be the owner of the aircraft myself, and just talking to the pilot, standing from the back. And because you cannot do that in commercial pilots because you know why. And besides, they'll never make any sense as a conversation with actual airline pilots because they'll know much better than that. And these guys are just like, yeah. The point today is to showcase. You say, I survived those almost 4 years of interacting with anyone honestly, right? Every interaction still is criminals other than trying to do some harm to me reporting that to you, or me ordering food in a restaurant, for instance, like commercial, not social, just professional interactions. And I usually keep it to a minimum too. The best thing also the cats, but even more than that, to talk about. And it was just such a thing. And let's actually imagine that in the future, I think the military pilots, and we were in this crusade interacting with them to talk about something, transportation, going from place A to place B, but not in an official capacity. Ideally, again, those are not actual professional pilots, and the whole point would be me joking that later to the airline pilots saying something like, you should praise those military pilots, but sometimes it's just like something you never imagine a civilian professional pilots do. And again, I'm not saying the military pilots would do bad. It's just telling what I was thinking. And it was this, very young lads, and they were like, oh yeah, he's gonna just go down this way. It's all foggy, and I'm like, oh, yeah, dude, we need the Andes. Be careful because of the mountains, etc. And like, no, I'm gonna straight through and be in the airport. And then you just see this shape of a mountain coming up in front of you, like terrain climb, climb terrain, and then you hear the GPS, WG, the alarm. I forgot the name, GPWS, alarming, ground processing, ground proximity warning system, yeah, GPWS. Just the classic, terrain climb. I think it's terrain, just rain, then pull up, which is very close. And then the instant, even before the alarm goes, just push the first toggle and try to climb. It's all so weird. I'm trying to explain that. And climb down. And then they don't just climb enough, but just enough to clear the mountain. Due to, you set up an angle there, it would be probably enough to clear the mountain. As the GPWS one, it keeps saying, like, terrain, climb, get the fuck out of the ground. And technically the airplane is climbing, everything's fine, so, and they likely would clear the ground, and it's like, are you crazy? Just pull up, increase the climb rate, because all the technology is wrong. I know. It's just like, okay, they're probably throwing drugs on me for a while. But regardless, it's not supposed to be there. It does bother me incredibly that all the technology is wrong, and I know the right one, just not remember right now. And I'm getting 10, so I'm definitely not going to remember now. It's not something I use it every day, but it's something that I know. That's sense, right? And at the end of the day, at the end of the day, the issue is, and it's like, no, yeah, but you're gonna clear the mountain, and yeah, there's some thoughts of a guy who lands in an aircraft carrier because he knows it's good to go, but everything with actual civilian pilots, usually they have these ginormous margins of error, and they try to be everything the most try to be everything the most standard way possible to give huge safety margins. So if things were to explode, uh, like if the sensors were to die, the engine was to explode or whatever, you can still fly the plane to and land it safely. Right. In this case, obviously, the most likely, the biggest danger probably will be wind shear, especially close to mountains when terrain is very irregular. So if you have just some down the upper draft or down, I suppose down into it would be much worse if you're very close to the ground, right? Because you don't have any clearance to not just crash. That disappears under the wing, and the plane and the airplane falls. The classic example in physics, if you teacher ever say to you disregard air resistance, the airplane falls in a parabolic. Boy, just embarrassing myself. Yeah, parabolic. It's a parabola and a hyperbole. Boy, yeah, this has been the worst. True nerd's nightmare. It's not a hyperbole, right? Or maybe it is a hyperbole. Hyperbolic ball, right? If you know the formula, it is essential acceleration. Is the only force subjected to the plane, and it will be of acceleration and the fact that the object is moving forward. This is very, very, very basic mechanic. Something that Newton would be, oh, I mean Newton, hell, child Newton would be shaking his head to. Boy. So I want to continue talking. I just wanted to mention that it was to just explain this one because it's pretty basic. The only remaining force on the aircraft would be gravity. So it's a very linear. Uh, the trajectory can be extrapolated by the path of the air, since the aircraft does not change mass, because with no air left, they probably should turn off the engines, although they'll be dead. So, that's interesting. Tough debate to think if they will survive long enough to shut down the engines and want to shut down the engines if all the air disappears around them. That plane's gonna explode. Yeah, that plane's gonna explode though. I don't think that the trajectory is gonna remain a bit large. I don't think it's gonna remain structurally interrogative to fall down in a single piece. Those things are not really designed to be in space, you know. So if you remove the air, and assuming that there was air inside the aircraft, or else the pilots would be dead, and the aircraft wouldn't be up there in the first place. I would say that. Okay, back to the point. It's going to be a resultant force down, just essentially the acceleration of gravity, which is a meters per second square. Looks like parabolic to me. But that's everything that my physics teacher told me not to do. To rely on intuition, don't even fully understand the concept. Because intuition, when you understand the concept, is already dangerous enough to make known mistakes. That's why you use formulas. And intuition, when you not even understand what you're doing, just using essentially what is the closest thing between understanding and just using unit coherence. And basically, if the unit measurement it makes any sense, if you know the point of that is, usually if you have multiple choices, you can at least discard one choice that just has the wrong measurement unit. It's like having, pressure in Pascal. Okay, this is Pascal. That is an easy one to discard. Anyway. Sad for Pascal. really sad for Pascal. Show me a single physicist that actually uses Pascal instead of Newton per square meter. Is Newton per square meter even Pascal? I think it is. Yeah, it is. And I know that because the joke, a bunch of physicists were playing hide and seek, and they hide in a bunch of weird places. You can prepare the joke if you want to be extra funny with the, what's the name? What's the name? Preliminaries. Yeah, that was the word I forgot. As I said, the funny things on me. It's not like I'm not forgetting things that I know. But the actual joke, essentially, the punchline comes out of Newton just, in typical Newton fashion, just draws a square underneath him with 1 meter on each side. And actually, his Newton over square meter. So technically, you didn't found Newton, you found Pascal. And it's funny because physicists know that they're probably the only ones who would know what a Pascal actually is, for sure. So they feel bad about themselves. I'm quite sure the engineers would probably have a pretty good idea, but they would not want to bet their lives that they're right. A little bit about me, I suppose. Also, there are crowds. And then I imagine just making fun of that thing because I just didn't know. Often enough, you praise Lambent type house because they fly a lot and they do more crazy things like this. But boy, sometimes there's the low side of it, the downside of it. And it's like, yeah, this is this mountain, can clear just over it, so the climb is comfortable and passengers in the back don't feel too rushed into the ground and like, yeah, I get downdraft and you crash into the mountain. Or use one of civilian pilots is usually very, very over conservative. Yeah, I think that doesn't count in general aviation. General aviation is not, well, it's going to invoke a lot of hate from a lot of people that think general aviation is not real civilian pilot. It comes with its own thing, let's say about that. No, it comes with the possibility of landing on taxiways and roads, or browns, I suppose. Again, if I can remember right now, I'm quite sure I know much more jokes about general aviation because, boy, God knows you have a lot of those, specific events. But yeah. And they're just making fun of that with perhaps some of the other guys that I watched today on YouTube. You feel when this is over? I mean, it will be over. It's just to know if it'll be there in the end. I know you'll be seeing them, so in a way I will be there through things like this. It's almost poetic that there's a camera blocked recording. I almost want you to remove the thing so you get to see me. I'm afraid that I'm going to accidentally damage the thing though. Such is an option. Hey, so much, but you're never gonna see me.